Right now in the Bronx, Vincent, a working dad juggling two kids and a security guard gig, is staring down an eviction notice that slammed his door on October 10th, 2025, after his rent jacked up 30% in a single lease renewal, pushing his family from barely scraping by to choosing between groceries and the lights staying on. That's straight from the NYC Mayor's Public Engagement Office, which spotlighted Vincent's story that very day on Instagram. A raw plea from a guy who'd paid on time for 8 years until corporate landlords, flush with developer cash, decided his block was prime for luxury flips. You feel that gut punch? That's not some abstract housing crisis. That's Vincent's kids wondering if they'll have a home for Christmas. While the same week, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer pocketed another $250,000 from the Real Estate Board of New York at a closed-door fundraiser, according to Federal Election Commission filings released November 1st, 2025. Two worlds colliding in one city, the powerful toasting champagne, while families like Vincent's get crushed under the boot of unchecked greed. And here's the twist that should make your blood boil. On November 5th, 2025, just weeks after Vincent's nightmare unfolded, Zohran Mamdani, the unapologetic DSA fighter we've been rooting for, swept to victory as New York City's next mayor in a landslide that DSA chapters are calling their biggest win yet. Mamdani didn't just win. He exposed the rotting core of the Democratic machine that's been betraying tenants like Vincent for decades, promising rent freezes, public housing surges, and an end to the donor stranglehold that's kept evictions now hitting 11,253 households across the 5 boroughs from January to August 2025 alone, the highest rate since 2018, skyrocketing while politicians look the other way. Let that sink in. While Vincent was fighting for his front door, grassroots organizers in Queens and Brooklyn were door-knocking 200,000 doors, turning outrage into ballots, proving that when we rise, the establishment trembles. You and I, we've been here before, watching the Democratic Party promise change from sunup to sundown, only to wake up to more betrayals, more families evicted, more workers ground down by a system that's rigged from Wall Street to Washington. I'm talking to you like we're huddled in a tenant union hall in Astoria, coffee going cold as we map out the next rally, because that's where I've spent too many nights. As a DSA organizer who's knocked on doors in the freezing rain, who's held Vincent's hand, metaphorically at least, through calls to legal aid hotlines that are overwhelmed because the filings are up 12% year to date per the Eviction Lab's tracking as of November 2025. We've trusted them. The suits in DC, the insiders who've climbed the ladder on our backs, and they've sold us out every time. But today, let me be real with you. Nancy Pelosi's sudden retirement announcement on November 6th, 2025 isn't just the end of an era. It's the crack in the dam they've been desperately patching after 38 years in Congress. The woman who wielded the gavel like a corporate shield is stepping aside, ripping open the veil on decades of insider trading scandals, donor favoritism, and a DNC that's more country club than People's Party. And through Zohran Mamdani's lens, the man who's been warning us this reckoning was coming, we're seeing progressives, AOC's allies, and DSA chapters mobilized like never before, poised to seize control of key seats in a power vacuum that's got the establishment sweating bullets. Think about it. Pelosi's exit comes hot on the heels of Mamdani's mayoral triumph, part of a 2025 off-year wave where DSA-backed candidates flipped 5 city council seats in Atlanta alone on November 5th, including Kelsey Bond's outright win in District 2, signaling a socialist surge that's already terrifying the old guard. Zohran said it best in his victory speech that night, broadcast live on WNYC, "This isn't about one win. It's about tenants like Vincent taking back the city from the landlords and their lobbyists who've bought our leaders' silence." And the data backs him up cold. NYC eviction filings may have dipped overall since the pandemic moratoriums, but actual Marshall evictions exploded 50% from 2023 to 2024, leaving 118,000 cases in the courts by mid-2025, according to the Comptroller's Office report released May 2nd. That's not progress, that's predation and Pelosi's crew. They've been the enablers in chief. Let me take you back, because to understand the firestorm Pelosi's retirement has ignited, we have to walk through the backstory, the slow burn betrayal that's left us all scarred. It starts in the 90s, When Nancy Pelosi first glided into San Francisco's 12th district on a wave of anti-apartheid cred, but by the 2000s, she was the queen of the moderate wing, brokering deals that kept Big Pharma fat and happy, while single-payer dreams died in committee. Remember 2010. The Affordable Care Act passed without a public option because Pelosi twisted arms, sidelining progressives like Bernie Sanders, who were screaming for real reform. Fast forward to 2025, and the scandals are exploding. Reports from Quiver Quantitative on May 13th revealed Pelosi's family portfolio raked in an estimated $4.7 million in a single day of trades, pushing her net worth to $261.9 million, gains that watchdog groups like Stock Market Watchdog tied directly to non-public briefings on tech mergers and defense contracts. She denied it, of course, blowing up at CNN's Jake Tapper on August 20th when he pressed her, "This is about my husband's decisions, not mine." But come on, we know the game. Congress's refusal to pass the ETHICS Act, which would ban stock trading by members, isn't incompetence. It's capture. And it's not just Pelosi. The DNC's been a revolving door for donor favoritism, with real estate PACs dumping $2.1 million into Schumer's coffers alone during the 2024 cycle, per OpenSecrets.org data, updated November 10th, 2025, right as evictions in the Bronx neighborhoods they represent hit 7-year highs. Zohran Mamdani's been calling this out since his assembly days, tweeting on October 15th, just days after Vincent's notice, "The Democratic establishment isn't broken, it's bought time for tenants to evict the evictors." His words lit a fuse. And now, with Pelosi's seat wide open, her successor race is a battlefield where AOC's former chief of staff, Saikat Chakrabarty, is vowing to dismantle the big tech and Wall Street grip on Congress. As he declared in his campaign launch video on February 5th, 2025, updated post-retirement on November 8th via his site saikat.us. Chakrabarty's no stranger to the fight. He engineered AOC's upset in 2018, and now he's rejecting all corporate PAC money, echoing Bernie's playbook to root out the corruption Pelosi embodied. We've seen this script before, haven't we? The Squad, AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib burst onto the scene in 2019, promising to drag the party left, only to watch Pelosi slap down their Green New Deal resolutions and bury Medicare for all under reconciliation rules. But the 2025 off-year elections, they're the turning point. Mamdani's win wasn't isolated. DSA chapters surged nationwide, flipping progressive strongholds from Atlanta to Seattle, with voter turnout among young renters up 25% in key precincts, per Brookings Institution analysis on November 6th. In New York, tenant unions like the one that saved Vincent's building through emergency rent relief on October 25th, detailed in AG Letitia James's press release halting illegal blacklisting by Bronx landlords, mobilized 5,000 volunteers for Mamdani, turning personal pain into political power. The establishment knows it. Pelosi holdovers are scrambling, leaking to Politico on November 7th that this Mamdani effect could cascade to D.C., with AIPAC donors, who funneled $90 million since October 2023 to squash progressive critics, per Forward reporting February 6, 2024, with spending spiking into 2025, now panicking over seats like Pelosi's, where anti-corporate insurgents like Chakrabarty poll at 28% early, per an internal DCCC memo leaked to The Intercept on November 10th. Congressional insiders are exposed, their donor lists laid bare, $130 million in Pelosi-linked windfalls from 2025 trades alone, fueling calls for a House hearing set for November 20th. As Fox News reported 3 days ago, the veil is tearing, and the people, you, me, Vincent, are on the march. But here's where it gets urgent. Pelosi's retirement isn't a graceful bow out. It's a forced exit amid mounting pressure from leaks showing her family's trades timed suspiciously close to committee votes on semiconductor bills that boosted Nvidia stock 40% this year. Sources close to the Progressive Caucus told the New York Times on November 6th that the dam broke when Mamdani's win showed the base is done waiting. Within 48 hours of her announcement, DSA chapters in California announced endorsements for Chakrabarty, framing the race as justice for the 99% against the donor class. By sunrise on November 7th, AOC was on X, posting, "Nancy's legacy is mixed, but her seat, That's our chance to end the corruption era. Saikat's got my full support. Let's build the future we deserve. The escalation is just beginning. Grassroots momentum from Mamdani's street-level organizing, think packed town halls in Jackson Heights where tenants shared stories like Vincent's, raw and unfiltered, is spilling over to D.C., with squad insiders whispering about a progressive renaissance, targeting 15 vulnerable seats in 2026. The stakes? A Congress finally accountable to workers, not Wall Street, or more of the same business-as-usual betrayal that evicted 247,000 families back in 2013 before reforms that did nothing but fatten landlord profits. Zohran nailed it in a Monocle interview 3 days ago. Pelosi's gone, but the machine fights dirty. We've got the wind, now we fan the flames. Now here's what they tried to bury: the secret revelations from Pelosi's final donor logs that could topple the whole rotten edifice. Now here's what they tried to bury: the secret revelations from Pelosi's final donor logs that could topple the whole rotten edifice, and the way Zohran Mamdani's team just pried them into the daylight. On November 9th, 2025, 3 days after Pelosi's retirement video dropped, Open Secrets published a bombshell update. In the last quarter alone, her leadership PAC, Team Pelosi, vacuumed up $1.8 million from tech and finance giants, including $350,000 from Google's PAC, the same week the House quietly gutted antitrust provisions in the American Data Privacy Act. That bill, H.R. 8818, was supposed to stop big tech from selling our every click to the highest bidder, but on October 22, 2025, the Rules Committee, still chaired by a Pelosi ally, slipped in a 400-page amendment that carved out a national security loophole big enough for Alphabet, Meta, and Amazon to drive a data center through. The Intercept confirmed it on November 11th. The amendment language was drafted by lobbyists from Covington and Burling, the same firm that reps Google and paid Pelosi's former chief of staff $1.2 million in consulting fees in 2024. Let that sink in. Your landlord can now legally sell your eviction risk score to insurers, but Congress just made sure Google can keep slurping your search history without a warrant. Zohran smelled blood. That same week, in a packed community center in Woodside, Queens, folding chairs, scraping, kids coloring DSA flyers in the back, he laid it out raw. They tell us the system works. Vincent in the Bronx just lost his home because the system works exactly as designed. For them, not us. The room erupted, and he wasn't just preaching, he dropped receipts. His campaign's data team, built from the same volunteers who phone banked 50,000 low-income renters, scraped FEC filings, and cross-referenced them with eviction court dockets. The map they projected on the wall was brutal. Every zip code with the sharpest rent spikes: 10,458, 11,221, 11,373, lined up almost perfectly with the districts where Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, and Pelosi's machine raked in the most real estate cash. "This isn't coincidence," Zohran said, voice cracking with fury. "It's a conspiracy in plain sight." The second wave of escalation hit on November 12th, when Saikat Chakrabarty, running for Pelosi's seat, held a press conference outside the San Francisco Federal Building behind him. Tenant organizers unfurled a 30-foot banner. No more stocks, no more evictions. Saikat didn't mince words. Nancy Pelosi's family made $33 million trading NVIDIA calls the same month the CHIPS Act passed. That bill gave Intel $8.5 billion in subsidies, money that could have built 170,000 units of public housing. Instead, it padded portfolios while Vincent in the Bronx got a marshal at his door. He cited the exact trade dates: July 28th, 2025, the day after the Senate vote, pulled from Paul Pelosi's brokerage statements that Quiver Quantitative had already made public. The crowd, nurses in scrubs, Uber drivers still in their vests, started chanting, "Whose house? Our house!" so loud the cops on horseback shifted nervously. But the machine doesn't roll over. By sunset that day, the DCC's Rapid Response Shop blasted an email to every donor with a pulse. Urgent. Far-left extremists targeting Speaker Emerita Pelosi's legacy. Attached was a memo branding Chakrabarty, a Bernie bro who wants to defund the police and open the borders. Classic playbook. They even dug up a 2019 tweet where Saikat joked that ICE should be abolished and turned into a jobs program for climate refugees. Never mind that violent crime in NYC is down 12% since 2022 per NYPD CompStat released November 10th, or that the border fear-mongering conveniently ignores the 40,000 New Yorkers who slept in shelters last night because we refused to build housing. They need a villain, and Saikat just volunteered. Meanwhile, AI PAC went nuclear. On November 13th, they cut a $2 million ad buy in the Bay Area. Dark, grainy footage of Saikat at a 2021 BDS rally. Voiceover growling, "He wants to destroy our ally." The ad ends with a freeze frame of him next to Rashida Tlaib and the tagline, "Not in Nancy's house." But here's the karma. The spot backfired so hard, it became a meme. Within 24 hours, when "Not in Nancy's house" was trending, with tenants posting selfies outside their overpriced apartments. I pay $3,200 for a studio, and my rep trades NVIDIA not in my house. DSA's National Rapid Response account, run by two 23-year-olds in a Bushwick loft, pumped out TikToks syncing the ad to eviction notices, racking up 8 million views by Friday. The panic in the donor class was palpable. One hedge fund manager texted a Pelosi aide, leaked to Sludge on November 14th. "If Saikat wins, we're all fucked, ban stock trading, they'll come for carried interest next." The layers keep peeling. On November 15th, the lever dropped a deeper cut. Internal Slack messages from Pelosi's policy shop, obtained via a whistleblower, showing staffers coordinating with FAR-MA to water down insulin price caps in the Build Back Better reconciliation package. Back in 2021, sure, but the same playbook. One message, time-stamped 3:14 a.m. "Tell the squad kids we'll give them a vote on M4A. If they drop the $35 cap, they'll cave." They did. Insulin is still $300 a vial for the uninsured, and 1 in 4 diabetics ration doses, per a Yale study published October 2025. Zohran read that study aloud at a rally in Flushing the next night, then held up a photo of a 12-year-old Queens girl who lost 3 fingers to sepsis after skipping shots to pay rent. The crowd went silent, then roared. That's the turning point, when the human cost stops being a statistic and becomes a face you can't unsee. And the fight back is scaling. In Atlanta, newly elected DSA council member Kelsey Bond introduced a resolution on November 10th to freeze rent increases on any building with a tax abatement, targeting the same corporate landlords who funded the anti-bond smear campaign in Seattle. Tammany Stern, another 2025 DSA winner, just forced a vote to tax Amazon's downtown parking garages to fund 1,000 units of social housing. These aren't symbolic. They're dominoes. Every local win chips away at the myth that corporate Democrats are inevitable. Back in D.C., Squad insiders told the nation on November 14th that they're drafting a people's platform for 2026, ban congressional stock trading, public financing of campaigns, a national rent cap tied to local wages, and a wealth tax starting at $50 million. Bernie Sanders is set to headline the launch in Oakland on December 5th. Mark your calendar. But the establishment is digging trenches. Hakeem Jeffries, eyeing the speakership, scheduled a unity retreat in Napa for November 22nd. Invite-only $25,000 buy-in the agenda, leaked to Jacobin, countering socialist insurgency in primaries. They're training moderates to red bait, to cry, "Defund the police," anytime a progressive says, "Tax the rich." They're terrified because the math is brutal. DSA membership hit 112,000 nationwide after Mamdani's win, per their November 8th press release, and their small donor fund topped $4.3 million in October alone, more than the DCCC raised from individuals under $200. That's power they can't buy off. The deepest layer? The moral rot. Pelosi's retirement speech praised bipartisan compromise, but the compromise was always with capital, never with the working class. She bragged about passing the CHIPS Act, yet Intel just announced 15,000 layoffs on November 1st while its stock popped 8%. She touted the Inflation Reduction Act, but insulin caps only apply to Medicare, leaving 8 million uninsured diabetics screwed. And while she fundraised in the Hamptons, 68,000 New York City kids experienced homelessness last year, per the DOE's 2025 count. That's the betrayal in numbers. Decades of Democratic control, and the 1% got richer while the rest of us got eviction notices. Zohran gets it visceral. In a November 15th interview with the Dig podcast, he said, "They'll call us radicals for wanting homes people can afford. I call them extremists for thinking profit belongs in housing." Then he told a story. His own mom, a public school teacher, almost lost their Jackson Heights apartment in 2009 because the landlord jacked rent 40% after the crash. She organized the building, withheld rent, won. "That's where I learned power," he said. "Not in Albany, not in City Hall, in a stairwell with neighbors who refuse to be erased." That's the turning point we're living right now. The crisis isn't just Pelosi leaving, it's the entire donor-driven model collapsing under its own greed. The layers, stock trades, gutted bills, eviction spikes, smear campaigns, are all threads in the same tapestry, and the people are the ones pulling it apart, stitch by stitch, block by block, seat by seat. The tapestry is unraveling, and the sound you hear is the establishment screaming as every thread they've knotted for decades snaps in their hands. Let me take you to the moment it becomes irreversible, the moment the meaning of Pelosi's exit and Mamdani's rise crystallizes into a single, undeniable truth. The Democratic Party is no longer theirs to lose, it's ours to take. November 16th, 2025, 7:12 a.m., a line already snakes around the block outside the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Center in the Bronx. Vincent is there. Yes, the same Vincent whose eviction notice started this whole fire. He's wearing a faded Yankees cap and a DSA shirt 2 sizes too big, handed to him by a volunteer last night. He hasn't slept. Neither have the 400 other tenants packed shoulder to shoulder, clutching coffee and court papers, waiting for the doors to open for the first ever people's hearing on evictions. This isn't a city council stunt. This is Zohran Mamdani's mayoral transition team, still unpaid, still volunteer run, turning a community center into a tribunal where landlords have to face the people they've bled dry. The New York Post tried to smear it as kangaroo court. By noon, the live stream on Twitch and YouTube is at 1.2 million concurrent viewers. The algorithm can't bury this. Inside, the first witness is Maria Delgado, 62, retired home health aide from Washington Heights. She stands at a folding table, voice trembling but unbroken. "My landlord is a shell company in Delaware. They raised my rent $800 in 1 year. I had to stop my blood pressure pills to pay it. On September 30th, 2025, I got the marshal. That was the day my daughter found out she was pregnant." The room inhales as one. Then Zohran steps forward, no podium, no script, and asks the question that should have been asked in Congress 1,000 times. "Who owns your building, Maria?" She doesn't know. But the kid running the projector does. Within 90 seconds, a public records search flashes on the screen. The LLC traces to a rate headquartered in Midtown, chaired by a man who donated $100,000 to Hakeem Jeffries' leadership pass in 2024. The gasp is audible. Then the chant starts, "Who owns the building? We own the future." That's the deeper meaning. This isn't just about one seat, one mayor, one retirement. It's the collision of two Americas. The one where Vincent and Maria are disposable data points in a profit spreadsheet, and the one where they're the jury, the judge, and the verdict. Pelosi's exit didn't create this moment. It revealed it. For 38 years, she was the gatekeeper, the one who decided which bills lived, which dreams died, which donors got access. Her retirement isn't a changing of the guard. It's the guard realizing the castle is already surrounded. And the forecast? Brutal for them, electric for us. By December 1st, 2025, DSA chapters in 42 cities have launched eviction tribunals modeled on the Bronx event. In Chicago, they force a major landlord to cancel 87 pending evictions in exchange for public testimony. In Philly, the city council, now with 3 new DSA members, passes a rent freeze on any building with a tax break. In Oakland, Saikat Chakrabarty's campaign releases a 42-page People's Platform for CA11, co-drafted in public Google Docs with 11,000 comments from renters, nurses, and gig workers. Page 1, Day 1, ban congressional stock trading. Day 2, tax Wall Street trades to fund 1 million units of social housing. He's polling at 41% in the special election primary set for February 18th, 2026, up from 28% 2 weeks ago, per a Data for Progress survey leaked to the nation on November 18th. The squad is moving in lockstep. AOC and Cori Bush introduced the End Congressional Corruption Act on November 20th, same day the House was supposed to hold that sham hearing on Pelosi's trades. Their bill, immediate stock trading ban, public financing of campaigns, and a 10-year lobbying freeze for ex-members. It's dead on arrival in the current Congress, but that's the point. It's a line in the sand for 2026. Bernie drops a video endorsement from Burlington. I've been fighting this fight for 40 years. These young people, they're going to finish it. The clip gets 3 million views in 24 hours. But the machine fights dirty. On November 22nd, the Napa Unity Retreat leaks again, this time audio. Jeffries, voice slurred from wine. We let one socialist mayor in New York. Next thing you know, they're taxing carried interest. We stop this now. The clip spreads like wildfire. By Monday, #tax carried interest is trending. AOC live tweets from the House floor. They're not even hiding it anymore. Good. The base is radicalizing in real time. The takeaway is simple, but it's everything. The era of betrayal is over because we're no longer asking, we're taking. Here's what you do. Right now, today, find your local DSA chapter. Google DSA near me. Show up to the next meeting. They'll have a clipboard, a pizza, and a plan. Join a tenant union. If your city doesn't have one, start one. The Right to the City Alliance has a toolkit. Takes 10 people and a group chat. Donate $3 to Psychic Chakrabarti. Not because he needs it, but because every small donor is a middle finger to IPAC's millions. Call your rep script. I'm a constituent. Will you co-sponsor the End Congressional Corruption Act? Yes or no? Record the answer. Post it. Run for something school board, city council, state rep. The filing deadlines for 2026 are coming. You don't need a degree. You need a story like Vincent's. This isn't hope porn. This is momentum with teeth. The same week Pelosi's donor logs leaked, applications to run for precinct committee person in California surged 400% per the Secretary of State's office in Georgia. Voter registration among 18 to 24-year-olds spiked 28% after Kelsey Bond's win. The kids aren't just watching, they're filing. Zohran closed the Bronx Tribunal with a line I'll never forget. He looked at Vincent, at Maria, at the hundreds crammed in that humid room and said, "They told us politics is the art of the possible. We're here to prove them wrong. The possible is whatever we refuse to surrender." That's the resolution, not a fantasy, a fact. The power vacuum isn't empty. It's being filled by the people who've been locked out for generations. Pelosi's retirement didn't end the fight. It started the countdown. Your home, your future, your movement. They're done gatekeeping. We're done asking. The Renaissance isn't coming. It's here, and it's wearing a Yankees cap 2 sizes too big, standing in line at 7 a.m. to testify against the machine. Let's go.